What does it mean to take up my cross daily? Jesus says in Luke 9 verse 23, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me." From this we can understand that to take up my cross is a requirement to be Jesus' disciple, and it must happen daily. The first people's disobedience to God's commandment is known as the fall. They now had a flesh, which means that they had come into opposition towards God. All people have inherited this flesh, and this influences our thoughts, words, and actions. When I give my life to Jesus, I commit myself to stop serving sin and doing my own will, and to start serving God. So I have decided no longer to agree to the lusts and desires that come from my flesh. But my new mind doesn't mean my flesh has changed. I quickly notice that my lusts are very much alive, and I still get tempted. This is why I need to take up my cross daily. We'll get back to that later. The cross was a common method of punishment by the Romans who ruled during Jesus' time. No one could hang on a cross and live. After suffering for a period of time, death finally came. So what does taking up my cross actually mean? To take up my cross is something that takes place in my mind. When thoughts that aren't pleasing to God come to my mind during the day, I deny them and put them to death on an inner cross. So taking up my cross is basically to say no to my own self-will and lusts when I am tempted. It hurts to deny the sinful thoughts that I naturally tend to think and which are in opposition to God's will, even if my whole desire is to do what's pleasing to God. Taking up my cross causes suffering for my flesh, which doesn't get what it wants. The Bible calls this suffering in the flesh, and the Apostle Peter writes, "Therefore, since Christ suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves also with the same mind, for he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin." 1 Peter 4 verse 1. The Holy Spirit gives me the strength to remain hanging on the cross, to keep saying no to the demands of my flesh until the lusts die. Then I truly become free from sin. As a human being, my flesh is full of selfishness. That is why Jesus says that I have to deny myself and take up my cross every day, all my life. As I use this cross day by day, bit by bit I'm overcoming sin and becoming more like Jesus.